Good evening, Thomas.
Good evening.
During this day of the conference, there were a lot of subjects covered and a lot of issues related to poverty, inequalities, precariousness. Could you please describe what are your passions and what are the most important aspects to you with regards to the today's conference?
Yes. So I've been focusing on the housing issues for the last 15 years, but seeing the housing as a very basic right from which all the other can also be reached, like health, education, or right to live with other people in society. All this takes place first in the housing. And I've been fighting against the merchandising from the housing because it's now a market, even though social housing exists controlled by a state that tries to provide housing to people who need it with social needs. But I've been trying to support different approach that are trying to to be answers by the people themselves. So I've been engaged in squatting movement for a long while, and what I would say about it is the fact that it allows people to join, fight for their rights, negotiate the legitimacy of occupying empty spaces, and also earning money, saving money. And saving money is something the poor people never can do because the few money they have to spend it just to survive. And so this capacity of saving the price of a rent provides a new space for creativity between poor people, between in a culture inside poverty, but fighting against the stigma on poverty.
In your view, what would be some of the keys and guarantees to a fairer redistribution of resources, like housing as a resource? What are the key aspects for that?
Yeah. So I would say speaking about the squatting movement I've been mentioning, I think what is important is to take into account the methodology of occupation in the social answer to give to the disoccupation of housing. There are many empty housings, empty buildings, and the methodology to get organized and occupy them could be taken into account by the government instead of using kind of security guard kind of commercial society that secure the ownership of owners of empty buildings. The use of the goods, the use of the building must be priority. But I also think I'm now developing a new project that is not new, that comes from United States, that has been considered as the best housing answer in 2008 when the subprime crisis was hitting hard the country. And it's called the Community Land Trust, and it is about social access to ownership, which means, again, like in the squatting movement, consider the poor people as investors. It has the opportunity to make a saving, which normally the banks only give money to the rich people. So that's a social program that allows poor people to be an owner, but it's also sustainable in the sense that the people, when they sell back the home, they will have to leave the added value of the place after, so that another poor people can access that same home in a social condition. So I think the answer that lies into the housing sectors is sharing the market by a better regulation between the state and the people, and not only through the invisible hand of that market that only concentrates the money in the hand and the lands in the hand of few.
How do you see the problem of the free riders in this situation, in the community land trusts and in
the free riders?
Free riders, the ones that only profit from these alternatives, but don't want to bear the responsibilities of it.
I'm not sure I understand what you mean by free ride. I'm sorry, like the owners that would.
No, free riders that only use the benefits of these systems, but don't really want to share the burden of actually helping the others in return.
Well, into the community land trust movement, it should not be like that, because it's in the kind of contract. Basically, the system is the community land trust owns the land.
Yeah.
And the people buy the flats or the houses on the land, and they have a contract for the use of the land, and in that contract they commit to those anti-speculative rules, so they commit themselves to sell it, to when they sell it only take the payback of the money they paid, the credit, and 25% of the added value. The rest goes back, stays in the stays with the owner of the land that give that home to another family. So it's inside the rules and inside the spirit of the movement. And a second thing is that. It's also a new way to manage. It's really a shared social responsibility, a socially shared responsibility system, because the board of the community land trust is divided in 3/3. Mm-hmm. 1/3 is the representative of the public authority, the one who gives the money, the one who cares about social answers. But then a third is the owners that had the benefit of that program, but they also have a third of the decision, which is very different from the social housing systems now, where you only benefit the system. Right. And the last third are the citizens, the people who live around, and that also want to have a word to decide what kind of equipment would be on the ground floors of those developments, and to decide where to affect those the money from the state on this program. So it's really trying to regulate and find equilibrium between the state, the owner the poor who get benefit from the program, and the neighbors. So it really it's not about defying a public who will take advantage of a program. It is about developing its own answer by accessing shared ownership.
Yeah. Thank you very much for sharing the intricacies of these initiatives, and I'm looking forward to your presentation tomorrow as well.
Thank
you very much.
Yeah.